Okay, you all, today we are making cinnamon tea ring rolls. Let's get started. Hey everyone, this morning I am going to make one of my mom's specialties. My mom was the baker, and if any of you know me, my mom passed away in 2009. And I would love to have your comments on something that your mom made that was one of your favorite recipes or still making, if you're fortunate enough to still have your mother around. We all know life is not the same without our moms. But I am going to make what she called a cinnamon tea ring, which basically is cinnamon rolls in the shape of a ring on your baking sheet. So first of all, we're going to take 1 box of Pillsbury hot roll mix. And you're going to want to take that and mix the yeast packet in with that. And again, my mom was the baker. I'm more of the cook. But she was a really good baker, and I think a lot of that was because my dad loved sweets. So you want to mix that yeast in really well. And then you're going to add to that 1 cup of water at anywhere from like 120 to 130 degrees, which I have my thermometer in here. 1 cup of water and 1 egg, or liquid chicken as I have heard it on some of the other videos, which I thought was kind of cute, and 2 tablespoons of butter. You're going to mix that well, and that dough will be a little bit sticky, but that's what you're wanting. You don't want it to be too dry. And like my mom always said, you can tell if your yeast is going to be good or not. You can just tell by the feel of it. If it's pliable, and sometimes if the yeast is old or bad, you can just feel the difference in that. So we're going to mix that up into a ball, and I will be... Okay, I have the dough mixed up into a sticky looking ball here, and I'm going to turn that out onto a lightly floured or moderately floured surface here. And then we are going to, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on the top of the dough with some flour, and then we're going to knead that. Just gently knead and work that additional flour into the dough so that it becomes not sticky anymore, is basically what you're trying to get at. And we are going to knead that, and I'll be right. Okay, I have kneaded the dough for like 5 minutes is what it calls for. I've got it, and you can see it's not sticky anymore. It looks really, really nice. Now you need to let it rest for 5 minutes. So I sprayed my bowl just so that it wouldn't stick to it. So now I'm going to cover it with some saran wrap and let it sit for another 5. I'm back, and I've let this rest for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to put it out onto a floured surface, and we are going to roll that out into a nice piece of big round dough. Okay, I have the dough all rolled out with the rolling pin, and now I'm going to spread butter over the whole top of this. Then we're going to sprinkle it with cinnamon sugar. This has sentimental value to me. It was my grandma's. It's pretty shoddy looking, this old sugar container, but you know what? I've kept it around, and it's great to keep your cinnamon and sugar in. I'm going to sprinkle that all over the top. Okay, as you can see, I got a good layer of cinnamon sugar all over this dough. Then I'm going to take, and I don't really measure because it's just going to depend on how much I use, but I got a cup of brown sugar here, and I'm just going to layer that brown sugar, another layer of that, over the top of this dough. And you can put nuts, you can put raisins in it if you want to. I just don't have anybody here that will eat the nuts and raisins, so I'm just making the plain cinnamon roll, and again, you can't go wrong with that either. Once you get that all layered on there, then you're gonna start rolling. And you just wanna roll your dough, and as you're rolling, you wanna tuck your sides in too, so that you can keep that gooey goodness inside. Okay, now we're going to actually cut the rolls, and we're gonna cut through with your kitchen shears and leave probably about, a half an inch before you cut completely through it. And you just wanna snip that dough, probably couple inches wide for each roll. And you'll just snip around that. Once you snip all the dough, then you're gonna take it and just give it a lightly little twist, just so that you can see all of the cinnamon and sugar. Now what we're gonna do is we need this to raise before we can actually bake it. And I'm gonna give you a little tip. And this is one my mom gave me. Preheat your oven to like 150, 175. Let it heat up, turn it off, and you can put your dough in there and it'll rise within about 30 minutes. So it's a quick tip. You don't have to wait for hours for this thing to rise. So try it. Okay, while the dough it's in the oven, I've turned the oven off so that it can raise. We're gonna wait for that. But I'm gonna make the icing to go on top of it, or the glaze. So I have 2 cups of powdered sugar in here. It takes about 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk, which I'm using the whole milk. That's why I got this little container, because we're not big milk drinkers. But and then you want to add a teaspoon. Get that open. I'm going to put in a half a teaspoon butter flavor, and then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla. And again, I like, you know me, I like the Mexican vanilla for that. And then we're just gonna stir that up. And there you have it. And as soon as this gets done, we will top this with some glaze. Okay, you guys, I'm not gonna lie. This has only been raising for like about 20 to 30 minutes because of that preheated oven that I had it on. Now I have my oven set on 350, and as soon as it preheats, I'm gonna pop it in there, and it'll probably take about 15, 20 minutes for these to bake through, and we'll be back. Okay, you guys, I am back, and this cooked or baked for like about 18 minutes, something like that. As you can tell, a lot of the gooiness seeped out from baking, and I kind of scooped it up and put it back all over. I'm gonna brush this thing really good with some butter all over the top. And then once this cools, we will be back to put the icing on it. Okay, you guys, I'm back, and I am ready to put the frosting on here. And as you can see, my little trick, I put my Ziploc in a bag in order to put my frosting in it without making a big mess. And I'm just going to cut the end of this off, and I am going to pipe this all over this cinnamon roll. Oh my gosh. Shut your mouth. That was my mom saying. And doesn't that look delicious? Absolutely fabulous. We'll be back to taste it. Okay, you guys, let's taste this. So good. You gotta try this.